This is a redo, a desktop presentation, or a desktop version, if you will, of the presentation I gave to the Black Tech Saturdays community in Detroit on May 4th, 2024. So this presentation was designed to provide a brief personal background and then an overview of urban entrepreneurship. So you can see my book, Proving Ground, a memoir, for the full personal background. It's about 488 pages, so it's all there. And you can visit and subscribe to urbanei.org, the Urban Entrepreneurship Initiative website, for more information about urban entrepreneurship. So I want to just repeat what I said on May 4th. Kudos to Johnny and Alexa Turnage and the Black Tech Saturdays community. What you have built is simply amazing. The potential is real and it's huge. And I wanted to thank Johnny and Alexa and the community for having me give this presentation. You know, to build a community of innovators and entrepreneurs, one must cast a wide net and bring the community together with purpose and focus, and that's what Johnny and Alexa are doing. So I would be remiss if not pointing out that this was a momentous year for Detroit football. The Lions almost made it to the Super Bowl, and the NFL draft was a huge success. So a big year for football. But I want to start my brief history by going back to 1953 with an anecdote about football. So the question that I'm asking here is, what's wrong with this picture? And some might say that what's wrong with the picture is that the Lions, the Detroit Lions, are depicted as NFL champs. But in 1953, they actually were. But of course, most folks would say what's wrong with the picture is that there isn't a single black person or any person of color in the picture. So did their absence mean that blacks were not capable of playing football? Of course not. Does the absence of blacks from many technology workplaces today mean that they are incapable of technical innovation? Of course not. But in 1953, we were living in a segregated society. We had American apartheid. That's why that group of Lions players and coaches and so forth was so homogeneous. So why did I choose 1953 to start this little history lesson? 1953 happens to be the year that I was born. And I grew up in Flint during a time of great prosperity, and that prosperity was due largely to tech innovation and entrepreneurship in the automobile industry. Today we call it mobility, but it was certainly tech innovation and entrepreneurship that yielded that prosperity that I landed in as a child. Of course, there were other things going on during that period, and three powerful movements shaped my development as a person. And these movements were a tangible part of my life. First, the auto industry, the explosive growth that I saw in my hometown of Flint, that was a product of entrepreneurial action. The second big movement was the civil rights movement that sought to address the long-standing social inequities that I just referred to. And then, if you look at the bottom right corner there, those three guys, they were at a place called Bell Labs, and they fomented a technological revolution, the invention of the transistor. And I used to see transistors and other electronic components right there in my house on my father's workbench. My dad, who served as an Army radio operator during World War II, loved electronics. And because he loved electronics, I loved electronics. I built lots of electronics projects. I was a ham radio operator. I was in the science fair. And as a teen, my goal was to start my own electronics business. So after graduating from Flint Central High School, I went to GMI, General Motors Institute, which is now Kettering University. And I stayed there for 2 years, and I transferred to University of Michigan. And after college, after master's degree in electrical engineering, I went to work for AT&T Bell Laboratories, that same place that the transistor was invented. And I was part of this first wave of black engineers and scientists at Bell Labs. And while I was at Bell Labs, I had the idea for the business that would consume my professional life and ultimately make me financially independent. So I recruited two Bell Labs colleagues, Stephen Moore and Charles Simmons, and together we worked for 2 years in the basement of my New Jersey home to develop our first product. So you could say that these are pictures from our Black Tech Saturdays. We would get together every evening and every Saturday to work on developing our first product. So a lot of people ask me at this point, what was your business? What did you make? And I'll give a little indication here with this video. So you folks who are old enough know what that sound is. That's the sound that analog modems would make when you would make that connection, initial connection. That's called a negotiation or a handshake between the two modems. But no, we didn't make the communications devices. We didn't make modems. We made the precision instruments and software that enable some of the world's leading telecommunications engineers to develop and test their communications devices. First analog modems, then digital and cable modems, and then cellular radio, cellular phone transceivers. But nearly 12 years after we incorporated the business, we sold it to a British company. That company today is called Spirent Communications. But the sale of the company enabled us to capture the tremendous value that we had created. So upon returning to Michigan from New Jersey in 2007, I was devastated to see the destruction of communities in Flint and Detroit and Pontiac and elsewhere. But just how did these cities like Flint and Detroit and Pontiac and Saginaw go from being world leaders to basket cases? Well, there are three main reasons that I can cite. First of all, there was cultural and ethnic and class conflict that led to racial separation and migration and disinvestment. Second, technology came along and enabled global supply chains which resulted in massive job loss in these cities. And later, water crises and the COVID pandemic accelerated income and health disparities. So, seeing all of this, I decided to devote myself to bringing urban innovation and entrepreneurship back to Michigan. I started the Urban Entrepreneurship Initiative to bring a renewed focus on urban entrepreneurship as a force for community well-being and prosperity. So, what is urban entrepreneurship? In short, urban entrepreneurship is the creation of a business entity that serves to improve the quality of life in an urban community. These businesses can be large or small, and they can provide products and services in any number of categories. Why urban entrepreneurship? Why is that important? Well, a focus on urban entrepreneurship can result in products and services that improve the lives of city residents. And such entrepreneurship can also be a source of community prosperity, since the products and services that are developed can be exported to other communities that have similar needs. Now, just to back up for a moment, many people don't realize that the world is already urban. In the entire world, 55% of people, as of 2019, live in an urban community. In the United States, that's 80% and growing. And in Michigan, about 75% of people live in an urban community. But urban communities face constant disruption from a number of different sources. So, as I alluded to before, in the causes of the decline of some of the cities in Michigan, this disruption comes from rapidly advancing technology. You can think in terms of electrification of vehicles, social media, artificial intelligence. It also comes from cultural, ethnic, and class conflict. Think about immigration, think about arguments over communication standards, what's appropriate, those kinds of things. It also comes from environmental and health crises. COVID certainly caused huge disruption, but also the effects of climate change are a huge environmental factor in disruption of urban communities. So urban entrepreneurs produce products and services that improve life in one or more categories of what we call community vitality. So how does one go about developing an urban-focused business? Well, in a nutshell, you have to start by engaging deeply with the community that you want to serve. And then you start with the problem. You identify an important problem, a specific problem in the community that needs to be solved. And you develop a solution in the form of a business model. Why a business model? Because solutions that come in the form of business models are sustainable, more sustainable, and more scalable than other kinds of solutions. Then you want to validate your solution with potential customers. And even if your solution then seems valid, you need to be prepared to answer the question, why you? Why are you the person or the entity, the best person or entity to provide that solution? And on an ongoing basis, you need to spend time engineering and tweaking your business model to make sure that you are fully addressing the need that you see. So, these guidelines could apply to any type of venture, really, but they're especially germane to urban-focused businesses. So, let's look at some examples of urban-focused businesses. They're all around us. So there's a company called Samaritan. They started out in Seattle, Washington. They use proprietary mobile technology and client relationship software platform to connect homeless people to their families, to community, and to services that exist for that community. The Lab Drawer, based in Detroit, provides STEAM experience kits composed of hardware and software and media to raise the STEM plus arts awareness and proficiency in previously underserved communities. So their solution is a B2B solution, business-to-business solution that leverages the resources and the reach of youth-serving organizations and programs to maximize their impact. Then there's ShotSpotter. A ShotSpotter is now a unit of a company called Sound Thinking, and ShotSpotter aims to reduce gun violence in cities by detecting gunfire and rapidly dispatching law enforcement. And then we have the company Blue Conduit, which is a company that came out of University of Michigan. Blue Conduit uses data analytics to more efficiently and cost-effectively locate lead service lines, lead water service lines. And this has been a huge issue, of course, with the finding of lead in so many water systems around the country. But then, of course, we see examples of urban-focused businesses and projects all around us. We need more professionals who are focused on such efforts, and we need to address even more categories of community vitality. So after years of effort and advocacy on the part of a lot of people, people are generally aware now of the need for and the benefits of urban innovation. And rapidly accelerating technology yields more innovation, but also yields more disruption. So a powerful community of urban innovators can convert disruption into new opportunities, resulting in a more resilient and a more prosperous community. But these urban innovators are in short supply, and people who would be urban innovators often lack the tools and the technology and the information they need to be successful. So we need more urban innovation professionals, and those professionals need the tools and the network to be able to achieve success. So with our Urban Innovator platform, the Urban Entrepreneurship Initiative is building a national and international community of urban-focused innovators. This community will result in more awareness, more opportunity, more prosperity for urban innovators right here in our hometown of Detroit. So I want to close with a final story that illustrates the difference between tech innovation and tech entrepreneurship. In 1946, a fellow by the name of Walter S. McAfee did pioneering work that laid the groundwork for modern space navigation. He did this work in service to the U.S. Army, and his achievement was even recognized, as you can see in the picture on the right. It was recognized at the White House in 1956 by then President Dwight David Eisenhower. But I'd like to say that, Dr. Walter McAfee literally pioneered the space age. He was a key figure. Some 15 years later, actually, some 15 years after Dr. McAfee was at the White House, his nephew, Leo McAfee, became the first black professor in the University of Michigan College of Engineering. And I was one of his students. Dr. Leo McAfee did pioneering work in the design of digital logic circuits for use in computers and communications devices. So my point is this: blacks have produced amazing technological innovations since this country was a country. Uh, they were innovators, but were largely not allowed to be entrepreneurs. And the thing that my co-founders and I did was that we proved that we can now choose and finance and capitalize on our own innovations. That, in a nutshell, is the difference between innovation and entrepreneurship. So now that you know what urban entrepreneurship means and what it can achieve, I invite you to get involved to identify opportunities to apply entrepreneurial innovation to improve the quality of life in our urban communities. Thank you for your time and attention. So if you want more information, again, see urbanei.org and subscribe to our website, our mailing list. And there's a short survey also on the website. I would appreciate it if you would complete that as well, because it gives us more information regarding what you're thinking about. So thank you very much. That's it, and go get it.